actually about near Avon Park. She said she's right on that sandbank that I was telling you guys about, where it's higher and drier. She said the rains have been just kind of splitting in that area, and they haven't had much rain. You know, when Florida was underwater, a lot of it was underwater. That middle section was the only little sliver that was above land, supposedly. So it's a little bit higher. It's a sandbank, and then there's a city down in here called Frostproof, Lake Placid, and a few other cities down in here where, say, there's a company that I've been watching. They're called Axe Decentralized Real Estate, Axe de Real. And what they're doing is they're buying large properties and they're subdividing it into like 10-acre lots, and they're building just roads throughout here, throughout the property, so that way they kind of have their entrances, and then they'll have these plots subdivided in the area here where people are buying up these 10-acre plots, which would be really cool for us to even do eventually. We could buy a 100-acre property, subdivide it, and do something very similar to where we could bring in a bunch of our members and have all of our, not only homes and orchards, but then what they like to do is they like to set up like pastures and paddocks, where like they'll have a property and then they have an open pasture where they can share, where they could bring their animals in, and then they could bring their animals in given different times of the year. Look up Axe the Real, pretty cool. They've got great content, really cool, interesting young guy couple. And they're doing it really smart, where they're turning it into like a trust, which is really interesting. And they just bought a recent property down here, which is why I brought it up, in Highlands County. Highlands, and that's that high land that's right there in that region. Highlands County, no, go figure. That's a good spot if anybody here or anyone is looking for property. And then we've got Mike here. I think he's down here in Pine Island, in this area here in what is that? Fort Myers, Pine Island, about an hour, 2 hours south, and then we've got Bradenton in the middle there. It's a good area. I think Fort Myers is probably that southernmost spot before it turns into Lime Shelf. And then Stephen is up in the Brooksville area, about an hour north of us. Another good space around that area where Ocala is. He's about an hour south of Ocala, an hour north of here. Ocala would probably really be that northernmost spot where they get a lot of frost and they're a little bit drier. And still really good. I saw Stephen has got a big tree down there, up there with some drumsticks. And so then having that thought and consistency where, okay, November is coming, let's go ahead and get all these trees back down short, so that way they spend the winter short. What I've noticed is when we have a big tree, and it's wintertime, the water penetrates all the way down into the core and freezes. But if you trim the tree back at around that kind of like area, you know, the person height, around this chest high level, if you can get it cut back to around that level, not necessarily a straight line, but kind of keep it in that curve, then the water has a harder time penetrating down into the system, and actually they survive much better to where if you keep the trees tall and they all